Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 183, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry, Plurk, and Instagram. Today is Wednesday, December 16th. Yes, Christmas is quickly approaching. I would say 9 shopping days till Christmas because people seem to get joy out of saying that to you whenever Christmas is approaching. People who've been saying that to me lately just make me kind of stabby. Not really. Well, yeah, stabby. I've been crabby this year. Stabby and crabby. Not this year. This week. This week, I don't know what's going on with me. I have had the worst case of the bah humbugs about the holiday season. Just this week. I'm over it. It's like January can't get here fast enough, which is silly because I know I'm going to have a nice holiday season. Emma comes home on Friday. So I'm looking forward to that. And we've got a bunch of different things planned, or I have a bunch of different things planned for over the holidays with family and friends. And, I know it'll be a good time. It's just the leading up to it that I'm really done with, I just am. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's been a busy year and I'm just tired in general and I'm ready just to relax, but I don't see any relaxation in sight in the really near future. I don't know. I'm tired of shopping. I love buying people gifts or giving people gifts, making them, whether I make them or buy them or whatever, when I either find or think of the exact perfect thing. You probably know what I'm talking about, right? Like you see something or somebody well enough that you think, I know exactly what they would love. They would love this, they need this, this would really tickle them, whatever. It would be a satisfying gift for them to receive. And that makes it a satisfying gift for you to give, as opposed to obligation gift giving, where you have no idea what to get somebody, yet you are obligated to get them something. And so that requires you to sit either in front of the computer, going through upteen online stores, or going to the mall and just wandering around, hoping that the perfect thing is going to jump out at you, which it never does. I mean, rarely. Okay, it probably does sometimes, but rarely is that going to happen. And that's the thing. I feel like almost everybody I'm buying for this year, with a couple exceptions, have been that obligation gift giving kind of thing. I've either asked them for input on what they would like or ideas and nothing. They're like, oh, I'll get back to you, and they don't. Well, I'm sorry, if I've asked you and you don't get back to me, you're going to get whatever I give you. And I hope you like it. I usually default to gift cards at that point because who can't use a gift card, right? So, yeah. A couple people on my list this year were super easy to buy for, which was fun. That always makes it easier. Unfortunately, my daughter, Emma, used to be my easiest person in the world to shop for. Like clothing wise, I knew what she liked, fun things, whatever. Well, this year was really hard because she said, I need cute tops and blouses that aren't t-shirts or sweaters. I'm like, you need to be more specific. I mean, I know that sounds specific, but do you mean you don't want anything made out of t-shirt fabric or knit fabric? I mean, you're really limiting things here. Or do you just not want like graphic t-shirts and really heavy cable knit sweaters or something? There's got to be something in between there that I can get you because there's really nothing. There's nothing cute out right now. Fashions are ugly at the moment, in my estimation. And, I try to shop like in juniors kind of departments for her. She's 19, right? So I try to get youthful looking things for her. They're ugly. Plus she's in school that they have to dress business casual for their classes. And, I'm thinking peasant blouses and shirts that have lace panels all over and are see-through with tank tops under them and big slits in the sleeves. I don't consider that business casual now, unless business dress has really, really changed since I was in school or working in the workforce. But I don't think it's changed that dramatically. And even though their business casual has really kind of, been casualized, that stuff doesn't really seem appropriate. So I did find her a few things. They're just plain, like plain solid colored things, which, I mean, I guess they're cute. I mean, they're functional, but they're not anything exciting. She and I are going to go shopping while we're home. So I figure what she doesn't like, we'll just take back and she can pick stuff out. That'll make life so much easier. I found lots of things that I would like because, that's the thing. I can look for stuff in the junior stuff for her. Can't find anything because it's all ugly or, appropriate for somebody who's not needing to dress the way she needs to dress. Or I can go to the Mrs. department and find things that are great for me, but would make her look like a middle-aged woman. And she's not. She's 19. So that has been my big dilemma this week. My younger son was awesome to shop for. He always gives me a list. Usually it's like 3/4 full of Xbox stuff, which again it was this year too. Xbox stuff and like movies, DVDs, and clothing for him is so easy. He wears black and gray, so like I usually just buy him a few new like thermal shirts and stuff that he can wear to work or save a couple and have them be nice. He's easy to shop for in that way. But yeah, pretty much everybody else, I'm like, I have no idea. Well, that's not true. Like I said, there's been a couple of other things that I've found. It's like, this will be perfect for this person. But it's like, I'm tired. I'm tired of doing the shopping now. I want to be done. And I need to get stuff in the mail, too. Like, soon. Tomorrow. Tomorrow is my personal deadline for getting gift stuff in the mail. So, it's got to go. Wow, I just spent the first 6 minutes of this podcast complaining about the holidays. Merry Christmas, people. Happy holidays. Here, my blinky snowman says, hope you enjoy the holidays because Lisa's being crabby. He blinks. Can you see him blink? I can't tell if you can see the blinkiness. Oh, there he is. Okay. Emma gave him to me last year, so I sit him here during the holidays when I'm having my bah humbug days and try to be a little cheerful. All right, let's move on. First of all, let me say hello to some people. We had Sue from Washington and Maureen from New York introduce themselves on the 90% Knitting board in the welcome thread. So hello, thank you for introducing yourself. And we have crossed over the 2,200 member mark. I think we were up to 2,203 the last time I looked. So yay. So I went ahead and I drew for a membership milestone drawing for a prize, and the winner was member number 2166. And you know what? I totally forgot to look up who that is. I had it open and didn't look. This is the way my day is going. This is the way my week has been going. This is why I'm crabby. I'm sorry. All right. This is going to take a second. This is why I tried to do this ahead of time, because I have to download it into an Excel file and find the person. Alrighty, so now we're open, so let's get down here. Whoa, that's way too far. What in the world? Okay. 2166. Sorry, there's two different columns and I have to look at the right one. 2166 is the frosted calf. So and the frosted calf just joined on November 10th this year. So that is a very recent person joining. So hopefully you're watching. Frosted calf, I don't have a first name for you. It sounds familiar though, so I feel like maybe you introduced yourself recently. At any rate, you have won this skein of my mega base in a self-striping version. It's called Compass Points. So yay, congratulations. I hope you like knitting with bulky yarn. So please PM me on Ravelry, and let me close this window so I can get back to what all my notes and everything here. Please PM me with your mailing address so that I can get your yarn prize out to you. And thank you so much for joining the group and for watching the podcast and for being a part of all the shenanigans that go on here, including me being crabby at the holidays and complaining a lot. I promise it'll get better. I won't be like this the whole podcast. I'll try not to be anyway. Alrighty, what's next? Let's talk about the knitting, because I actually do have knitting and finished stuff. I did finish the pillow cover. Remember, when I knit Emma's Afghan for her birthday, this was actually what I had started knitting as an Afghan. I was going to do strips like this and then decided, nope, that's going to be too much of a pain in the butt. And I really wanted to do a chevron Afghan, so that's what I ended up knitting for her. But I still had this, and I didn't want to just rip it out or waste it. So actually it was up to here, this pink thing, so it needed one more turquoise or peacock stripe in order to kind of balance. So I knit that on there and bound it off, and then I measured it, and it's approximately 20 inches long and I forget, 12 inches wide maybe. And so then I went to Joann's last night to look for a pillow form approximately that size, and there are not any. There are like 28-inch long pillows that are narrow, but there's nothing even close to this side. So what I bought was a bag of polyfill, and I'm just going to cut out an old sheet into the size that I need, stuff it with the polyfill, because actually the package of polyfill is almost the exact right size for this. Too bad I can't just leave it in the plastic and stick it in here. But anyway, I bought that so I can make my own pillow form. And I didn't bring it in here with me, but I bought a piece of flannel that's got like turquoise blue and purple and sort of a gray. And I'm going to use the flannel as the backing of the pillow. So I'm not sure. Yeah, that's how I'm going to do the flannel on the back. The knit part will be on the front, and it'll be a pillow. I don't know if you'll get to see it or not. Well, I'm going to record one more time this year. It'll be after Christmas. But Emma will still be here, so maybe I can steal the pillow back and show you. I'll try to remember to do that. But anyway, the pillow cover, at least the knit portion of it, is finished. I'm calling that part finished. I don't have a separate project page for that. I think that was just on the Afghan page. So if you're looking for any details about that, look on the Afghan page and you'll find them there. I do have a hoe also, a half-finished object, and I finished the modified Vanilla Bean stripy sock that I'm knitting out of my Fiber Nymph Dye Works Bounce Base in the Autumn Harvest, the bright version of Autumn Harvest colorway. I love how this turned out. I told you I was pretty much knitting this probably as a gift, not necessarily as a holiday gift, but it's not, I really like it. I wish I could just say, oh, I'm knitting it for me, because I love how it turned out. Like I said, the modification I did to the Vanilla Bean was that instead of doing this slip stitch detail every stripe, I did it every fourth stripe. So it happened on the green, and it happened on the plum, and it happened on the orange, and then it started cycling back around green, plum, orange. So I just really love how it turned out. And I did an afterthought heel. And yeah, it's great, and it fits me perfectly. But it's not going to be for me. I'm going to be nice and give it away. So I did cast on the second sock, but just barely. It's not really even much to look at. I cast on just the cuff, because when I finish a sock, I hate to not have the second one on the needles almost immediately. That helps me not have second sock syndrome. So anyway, yeah, I'm like through the first stripe and just started the second stripe. But anyway, like I said, that's not necessarily going to be a Christmas gift. So if it doesn't get done, it's not a big deal. So anyway, that's what I made the majority of my progress on. I did actually do a decent amount of work unintentionally on my accidental cast on hat. It seems like everything about this hat is accidental, isn't it? I thought I dropped a stitch, but I didn't. Okay, so this is the Sockhead hat pattern by Kelly McClure, and as I've said before, this was a special colorway that I did up for someone who needed a bunch of mini skeins for a retreat one time. I had a lot of the leftovers, so I pieced them all together and made a skein. So I've got tons and tons of ends that I'm weaving in because I keep coming to knots. But basically, I'm just knitting around and around and around, and I had, I don't know, an hour or two the other night where I was doing something that I didn't really have to pay attention to, so I could just sit and knit and knit and knit and knit. I mean, I had to pay attention, but it wasn't active paying attention. So does that even make sense? I'm not even sure. So it did get a few more inches. I And now I never knit on the podcast. Anyway, and here's my that little stitch marker from One Sly Fox. Yeah, so I'd say I probably put on a couple of inches while I was knitting on it. See, I don't have a progress keeper in this, so I can't remember how far it was. I want to say it was probably about 3 inches in the last time you saw it. So I've added a couple of inches since then. But again, this is just sort of, it's not a project I'm paying a lot of attention to because it's something easy that I just kind of pick up and I carry with me, or I pick up when I need something mindless to do. So that's why it's not getting a whole lot of attention. But anyway, and that colorway, like I said, it was a special colorway. I did morph it a little bit, and it's very, very close to my Davy Jones Locker colorway now. So if you like those colors, I do have them. It's just not exactly identical to that. Or no, not Davy Jones Locker. Bring Me That Horizon. I'm sorry. They're similar, but not the same. Okay. So I worked on that. The other thing I did work on a little bit, again, not a lot, because I just didn't have a whole lot of knitting time this week, was the Antler cardigan. And I'm fishing with the one sleeve here. You saw both cuffs last week. I added some length to one cuff. This is all the further I have gotten. So I put about 3 inches, I would say, on to one of the cuffs. I am trying to work on them concurrently. I didn't start doing more on the other cuff yet because I was trying to work out what I want to do with these sleeves. The way the increases for the sleeves are written in the pattern, you increase fairly quickly, like about every 5 or 6 rows, I think. For a total, I think, of 10 increases is how it works out for my size. Well, I'll tell you what, that was going to make really wide, big sleeves. And I don't like, I mean, okay, so here's how it's fitting me right now. This actually is a comfortable sleeve width for me down here. I don't want this getting big any faster, like not nearly as fast as the pattern calls for. So what I decided to do, I did the first 2 increases as they were called for. And now instead of doing them every 5 rows, I'm doing them every 10 rows. So I'm in the middle of my first longer increase, and I'm keeping track of it so that I can you know, do it the same on the second one. I think once I get through that first increase, the longer increase, I'll go ahead and I'll do the same thing on the second sleeve, just so that I'm at the same place in that modification before I continue. But I wrote out exactly what I was doing, like what rows to increase, and which increase it is, and you know, just so that I know what I'm doing, because I just don't remember things as well as I used to. I always think I'll remember, but then, yeah, and then I just have random notes that I hope I understand what they mean whenever I have to use them. So anyway, but again, this is the Antler cardigan. I know it doesn't look anything like much of anything yet, by Alexa Luderman. And I'm knitting it out of Cascade 220 Heathers in the Aspen color, which I do love the color. And that's actually fairly accurate. It's just a nice heathered gray. It's beautiful. So anyway, hopefully I'll have a little bit more time over the holidays to work on that. I really would like to get some downtime where I can just enjoy life. All right, so that is really all of the knitting I did this week. Again, it was a busy week. What's on deck? Yeah. Well, I'm thinking at this point about my Christmas Eve sock cast on, because I do want to cast socks on Christmas Eve like I did last year. And I think what I'm going to end up using is one of my West Yorkshire Spinners sock balls that I bought this past year. I have 3 of them. This is the Bullfinch color, and I'm really leaning towards using this one because it's got red in it, and I like the red. The red and black and gray and white. It's just a fun colorway. However, I couldn't remember what this was called. It just has a number on it. It doesn't have the name Bullfinch. So I got online and went to Britknit, which was the shop that I bought it from, to look up the name. You know where this is going, right? And while I was on the website, I did find the name. But while I was on the website, I saw another colorway called Pheasant that I didn't remember seeing before because I'm pretty sure I would have purchased it had I seen it. It's also got red, but reds and oranges and really pretty colors in it. So I wanted that. Well, then while I was on there, I also noticed that they had a Christmas colorway called Hollyberry. It was scrumptious looking, but Britnett didn't have any of it in stock. So I started searching around the web and I found another UK-based yarn shop that had both pheasant and this Hollyberry color in stock. I could have ordered them one from one and one from the other because I like supporting Britnett. You know, I know her from like on Instagram and everything, and I know it's not like knowing somebody, but you know, there's a connection there, so I like to support people that I have some sort of connection with. But because it's coming from the UK, there's the shipping charges involved, and I just didn't want to have to pay shipping twice. So I went with this other shop, and I honestly don't even remember the name of it. I'll let you know whenever it comes in. And I doubt that those two skeins will be in time for me to cast on for Christmas Eve. So I probably will use this. I have two other ones that I could choose from, but this was the brightest and happiest. And it actually also sort of reminds me of a cardinal. I know there's like more red in a cardinal than just all this, but that's also what I sort of think about. So anyway, this is what I'm leaning towards for my Christmas Eve sock cast on. So that will probably be what I do. Spinning. Well, I'm still plugging away on the Shetland because we're still in the middle of the Natural Colors Fibers Spin Along till the end of the month. And I finished spinning the Morit colorway. So I'm actually not sure which was the first and which was the second bobbin. I'm going to guess this was the second bobbin because my second bobbins seem to be ending up with less yarn on them. I guess I'm not splitting my fiber very accurately. At any rate, so this is my third color that is done. So I have two more colors to go. And just this morning, I finished the first half of the gray. I seem to have a lot of the gray. I thought the Morit was the one that I had the most of, but this is a pretty full bobbin. So unless I totally messed up my splitting again, but this is the gray. It's a nice heathered gray, really, because it had some natural, I don't know, that's not showing up very well. Let's see if I can turn the light. Turn towards the light. No, that's not really helping either. No, I don't know. Hold it back here. I need to paint this room. I know that sounds random, but I honestly think all this yellow in here really, really messes with the lighting, even more than the lighting already being horrible in here. Anyway, yeah, gray. So this is half of the gray. So I've got one more half of the gray to go. And then I have my last color, which is the black, which will also end up being very heathered. And then I'll be done. And I'm really hopeful that I'm going to be able to get this all done by the end of December. It won't be plied probably, but that's okay because the spin along does not require plying. It just requires, you know, the singles, spinning the singles up, you know, 4 ounces or more to qualify for prize. And I have exactly enough Traveler bobbins to do the rest of the fiber. I have 3 more empty bobbins, so that's good. Actually, it was funny because I'm down to the bobbins now that have leftover yarn from other things that I've plied and then I never cleaned them off. So if it's just a little bit, I'm just kind of pulling it off and pitching it. I don't mess with that too much. But there was a goodly amount of whatever this is. And I honestly don't remember what colorway this is. I want to say maybe it was something Highland Handmaids, but I don't remember. So I Navajo plied it. So I've got this little blippy, it's about 13 yards of a Navajo 3-ply of whatever it is. I think it might have been something from Highland Handmaids. Or it could have been something of mine, and I just don't remember what. But I don't know. I think it's something Highland Handmaids. Heather, do you have any idea what it might be? I don't know. It's very patriotic looking, actually, because it's got this really pretty blue, 2 blues, a white, and a red. I like it. And I'm like looking on my shelf over there of hand spun, like, what? Oh, I actually do see the rest of the skein. Huh. I don't know. mystery. Okay. What else? Oh, no, I showed you the Shetland. Boy, I am scattered today. New things. Let's talk about some new stuff. I got a new bag, which I think I may have mentioned a podcast or two ago that I used the coupon code that Darlene from Bags by Awesome Granny had given us. It's still active, by the way. Fibronym15 is the code for her shop, and you get 15% off anything you purchase in there now through the end of the year. So if you're looking for a last minute Christmas gift for yourself or someone else, check it out. But this is the bag I ordered. I got another large bag. And I just loved this really whimsical woodland print. You know, all the little animals and the flowers and the birds. It just really made me smile. So it's, I did not get a set because I didn't really need another Notions bag right now. Although her Notions bags are awesome. But then here's the lining. It's just a nice little chevron-y pattern in coordinating colors. So that's my new bag. And her bags are really well made and quite lovely. So I would buy one if I were you. Use the discount. Use the discount, Luke. Are y'all looking forward to the new Star Trek or Star Wars movie coming out? I don't think it's out yet. It comes out later this week, or maybe it is out already. I don't know. I'm not following it quite that closely as some people. I just know my son said he's probably going to go see it this weekend, so I'm sure I'll see it eventually. Let's see what else. New podcasts. I've watched a couple podcasts that are not brand new, but they're new to me because I, for whatever reason, have not seen them before. And the one is Seneca Crafts, which I don't know why I have not seen her podcast before. She's very active in a 90% knitting group, and I knew that she had the podcast, and I've had it on. I have a list that I keep running, and I'm not exactly sure where it's at the moment, of podcasts that I want to check out, and I know it's been on there for a while, so I'm sorry. I finally got to watch you though, and I really enjoyed it. It was your most recent episode, so anyway, thank you. Thank you for reminding me, because I know every once in a while you mention that you have a podcast. So anyway, I got to watch that, and that's called Seneca Crafts, and it's on YouTube. She's also one of the people doing winter camp. I guess she's probably like a cabin leader or something that Sarah from the Canadian Knitter podcast. Canadian Knitter, not Canadian Crafter, right? Canadian Knitter podcast. I'm sorry. I didn't have this part written down. But Sarah is doing this winter camp, and she's doing it in conjunction with a bunch of other podcasters, and Seneca Crafts is one of them. And it sounds really fun. I just don't know that I'm going to have time to take part in it. You can do a day camp option. So if you go to Sarah's YouTube videos, the Canadian Crafter videos, she did a video specifically about winter camp, and you know, all the ins and outs of doing that. It was a few weeks ago, I guess. So if you want to know more about that, I would say check there. I think she has a Ravelry group specifically for it too, so maybe check there. I don't know. It's just something fun to do, you know, for the winter. I think it's a 3-month-long thing, like January, February, or March, maybe. Don't hold me to that. I could be wrong, but anyway. What else? Oh, and the other one that I watched was Tiny Paper Foxes, which I have heard about for quite a while now, and I never managed to watch it, and so I finally got to watch an episode, and that was quite fun too. So those are a couple podcasts you can check out. I will try to link those in the show notes if I actually get show notes done this week. I apologize profusely. I never got them up for last week's episode, and after a certain point, it kind of just becomes silly, I think, to put them up, because if you have any questions, you can just ask me, and I'll be happy to let you know, like a link or answer a question of something I talked about in the podcast or whatever. Anyway. Alrighty. The Natural Colors spin-along. Again, that's still going through the end of December. I'm loving seeing everything that you guys are spinning. It's been so much fun to watch. I just wanted to talk a little bit again about the prizes. We have a $25 gift certificate for Dyed in the Wool that was donated by Benita. There's also a 10% coupon code, FDW10, through the end of the year to Dyed in the Wool. .biz. So if you want some lovely natural fibers, go there and check that out. So that's one prize. Then Christine, one of our viewers, sent us 2 ounces of mohair from her Angora goats. Well, one goat called Fudge, so it's a pretty brown. I showed that to you a couple weeks ago. I forgot to grab it, I'm sorry, but it's really pretty. And the other thing, which I've been telling you I'm going to offer as a prize as well, and I haven't had it all together until now to show you, is a fiber sampler. And I've decided that it is going to all be undyed fiber, since that was the theme of the spin along. I thought that seemed appropriate. I chose 6 different fibers, and there will be 1 ounce of each of these fibers. I tried to pick special fibers. Some of them are ones that I carry regularly. 2 of them are ones I've never carried before, and I probably will never carry them again because they are quite luxurious. And I don't know that a lot of people would be buying them in large quantities, but I bought them for the purpose of having this prize, and I may also put up probably not exactly the same as what I have here as a fiber sampler, but I may sell little fiber samples of these special fibers as well in the shop. I haven't decided that yet or not. But let me tell you about the fibers that we do have. Okay, the first one I have, this is not how they're going to come to you. They'll be in a nicer way, but just to separate them, I have them in bags. And this is not going to be a lot to see because they're all natural colored. This one is Wensleydale. Okay, now Wensleydale is not a luxury fiber by any stretch. I like to include it though because it's a long wool, and it's very different than the wools that most people tend to spin unless they specifically want to spin a long wool. So I like to include this in something like this just so that you have the experience of spinning something that's probably a little different than what you've ever spun before. So this is more an experiential thing just for different types of fiber in that way. Okay, so then I've got some BFL silk. This is Blue Face Leicester and Tussa silk. It's got the nice sheen from the silk. I know this lighting is really not showing this stuff off very well. I can see how nice it looks though. So anyway, there's that. And then I've got some merino bamboo, which even if you don't really like spinning merino, because I'm not a fan of spinning merino, I love spinning merino bamboo. It's such a pretty sheeny fiber, and if you're the winner of this and you decide you want to dye this fiber, you'll love how the bamboo reacts with the dye, because you have to use the acid dyes to do the fiber, the merino. But since bamboo is a plant fiber, it will not take that dye at that same intensity. And it's beautiful, the variegation, or the tonalness, I guess, that you get in there. So there will be an ounce of merino bamboo. And then there will be an ounce of mulberry silk, which this is really interesting. Silk fibers are really, really fine and very, very long. They're continuous. If you ever have used like a silk hanky or something, a silk hanky is one continuous silk fiber. You know, silk also does not like taking water, so it's kind of a pain to dye. I don't dye it very often, but it's super soft, very luxurious, very sheeny. So it would be fun to just spin up. It was funny, as I'm dealing with all this fiber this morning that has silk in it, silk fibers were just flying around my kitchen as I was doing this. So, okay, so those are the 4 that I carry semi-regularly. These 2 are the ones that I just got specifically so that I could include them in this fiber sampler prize. And I'm going to play with some of these 2 personally. The first one is Baby Camel and Tussa silk. This is like a fuzzy, puffy bunny, but not a bunny camel. A silken camel. It is so soft. It's like baby hair. Like, it's just that fuzz, that just peach fuzz. And again, like, the silk fibers are very fluffy in it. Not fluffy, like fur fluffy, but you know, I don't know. It's a gorgeous fiber. I've spun camel before, but I've spun camel down, which is a totally different experience because there's no staple length to it. I'm inhaling these fibers. This is going to be very, very different. I can't wait to see how this spins up when I play with it, or when you play with it. I hope you'll let us know if you're the winner and you play with these. I want to know how they spin up for you. And the last one is Tibetan yak and cultivated silk. So more silk and Tibetan yak. This is sort of a moritty brownish color with the silk in it, so it's actually making it look much lighter than it looks in person. But it's beautiful, and again, just very luxurious, very soft, very silky. So anyway, those are the 6 fiber samples. Again, 1 ounce each. But aside from the Wensleydale, these are all fibers that are going to want to spin up super fine. So you should get a decent amount of yardage from each of those. Again, I'm leaving them undyed just because I want you to have the experience and pleasure of spinning them undyed to focus on the fiber rather than color. But you could always dye them, you know, on your own if you want to play with dyeing, or just leave them natural and, you know, spin it up and knit up some sort of little sampler shawl or something out of it, just, you know, to show what you got from it. I think it would be super fun. So anyway, that is the fiber sampler prize, finally, to show you. Maybe by the next time I record, I'll actually have it in its final form and I can show you how it'll be coming to you. Who knows? There's always hope. Alrighty. What else? Oh, I wanted to mention, I did the Color Tracks hat kit drawings for last week. I heard from one of the winners. The other winner I have not yet heard from, and that was Kathy, who's K Dunne, K-D-U-N-N-E. So Kathy, if you're watching, please PM me and let me know that you won so that I can get you connected with your prize. Okay, I think that's everything for the 90% part. 10%. Well, short of getting ready for the holidays, which, you know, again, I'm a little crabby about it, but I'm getting there. I'll be fine. It'll be fine. Emma gets home on Friday. Tuesday next week is the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere. It's not really something that I celebrate, like, as a religious thing or anything, but I love celebrating winter solstice just as for what it signifies in this point in the year. Like, okay, the long days are going to now start to get a little shorter and we're going to work our way back towards, you know, spring and warm weather and things like that. Although it's been so unseasonably warm, there's kind of a little anticlimacticness going on about that this year. But I always do a really nice dinner on the winter solstice, so I'm planning to do that. My children have been warned they need to be here for that. And then we have Christmas on the 25th. So it's going to be weird this year because Christopher and Emma are actually going to their dad's Christmas Eve. And they're spending the night there and then spending part of Christmas Day over there with him. And he's got 2 younger stepkids and the kids want them to be over there. So I mean, it'll be nice for them, but I've never not had my kids here on Christmas morning. So that's going to be different. I mean, it'll be fine, but, you know, just something different. So that's all that's coming up. And I'm not going to record next week because of the holidays. I'll probably record the weekend following Christmas, either Saturday or Sunday, just because it's going to be busy otherwise. What else? I'm still listening to A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. I'm really enjoying that book. I still have the algorithm book, The Advent of the Algorithm. I've not finished it, but I kind of put that one on the back seat because I'm more interested in the Bill Bryson book right now. So I'm listening to that. What else? Oh, last weekend. Last weekend was full of shenanigans. On Saturday, this is maybe going to be a little bit of a gross story, so if you get squeamish easily, you might not want to listen. I was dying on Saturday, you know, trying to get some yarn done and everything. And I was busy, so I wasn't paying attention to a lot of stuff, but I had this weird pain in my side. Like, not a deep pain, like my, gallbladder was going to explode or something. Not that kind of pain, but just like on my skin. It kind of felt like if you have a tag that's itching you or irritating you, that's what it felt like. But it was on my side, and I was wearing a shirt that I've had for years, so I knew it wasn't something like that. I just kind of kept rubbing it and ignoring it and hoping it went away, and it didn't. And so finally, when I was done dying, I was, cleaning up and everything, and it started bugging me again, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I finally looked, and it was in a weird spot. It was hard to see, but I pulled my shirt up and I looked, and it looked like I had a scab that I kind of scratched off and had maybe been bleeding a little bit. But I thought, how in the world did I get a scab there? And then, and here's the warning, this is where it gets gross and creepy. The scab that wasn't a scab wiggled at me. Legs. It was a tick. I want to get grossed out totally just by saying that. Now, if you live anywhere near where I live, these ticks are not uncommon. We always have warnings about deer ticks. I have no idea if this was a deer tick or not. I've picked ticks off of my pets numerous times. I've never had one on me. And I know hunters and people, like little kids, when you're outside playing, you always have to look for ticks on people. And if you've been out in the woods doing anything, you're supposed to look. I've never found one on a human before, let alone myself. And I'm sorry, there are very few things that I get squeamish about. Like blood and gore and guts does not bother me. I don't have a problem getting shots or having blood drawn. None of that stuff bothers me. The only things that bother me and make me have that feeling like all of the blood has drained out of me and I'm going to pass out is if I cut myself on a sharp knife. If it's dull, or I don't have a problem. But like a slice with a sharp knife, that'll make me just go and want to pass out. Or apparently seeing a foreign creature embedding itself in my flesh. That will make me want to pass out. But I was home alone, so passing out was really not a good idea. And here's the funny thing, because you got to find a funny thing in all this, right? I guess I've watched too much sci-fi, because upon seeing it, my first thought was, oh my God, I have an alien trying to escape my flesh. Because I wasn't thinking logically, obviously, and it was just disgusting. And then, after I got a grip, I realized what it was, and I'm like, and I didn't know what to do with it because I knew you weren't supposed to put Vaseline on. That was like the old thing. If you ever saw a tick on a person, you're supposed to cover it with Vaseline so it would suffocate and die, and then you could pull it out real easily. You're not supposed to do that anymore. So I'm running around the house with my shirt pulled up. I come in here to the computer and Google, how do you remove a tick from a human? And I looked up. You're supposed to get needle nose tweezers and grasp the tick as close to the head as you can, firmly but gently, and pull straight out. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what I'm trying to do in this weird spot on my side where I can hardly see it. And I'm sweating profusely because I feel like I'm going to pass out. And I'm trying to get this thing out. I swear the thing was embedded in my spleen or something because it was not letting go. And I just pulled and pulled. And at that point, I'm like, I don't care. And I ripped it out. And I got the body. And I knew there were still parts in there. And I'm like, ugh, but at least the wiggling stopped, okay? So I immediately hopped in the car and went down to Med Express because I was freaking out. And I got down there and, I was actually in and out of Med Express inside of an hour, which almost never happens. And I found that whenever you talk to medical professionals, if you start talking about aliens in your body, they kind of look at you funny and think maybe you should be there for a different reason. They don't tend to have a whole lot of a sense of humor about that, but none of those people really looked like they wanted to be working that day anyhow. At any rate, the doctor looked at it. He's like, yep, there's still part of it in there. So he numbed me up and he took a needle and picked around for a while and got it out and gave me a prescription for an antibiotic, like a single dose of an antibiotic to hopefully ward off Lyme disease. And then gave me the big long list of symptoms to watch for in the coming weeks. And if I develop any of those, I get to go back to the doctor and get more antibiotics. But so far, so good. I do not seem to be developing any issues that I didn't already have. Yeah. It was gross. It was really, really gross. And I have no idea where it even came from because I had not been outside, wasn't playing in the flower beds, wasn't even hiking or riding my bike. It probably came in on the cat. That's my only thought. She has a Seresto collar, both her and the dog. I buy those Seresto collars, and they've always worked really, really well. But I guess a tick could still hop on and jump off without warning and hang out and wait for a viable victim that's not wearing a Seresto collar. Since I don't wear them, I guess I was the victim. So anyway, yeah, okay, the gross part's over now. Sorry. That might have been TMI, but it was really very icky and traumatic and icky. But then on Sunday was a much better day because Bill and I went to West Virginia. We went to Seneca Rocks. I'd never been to Seneca Rocks before. If you've been to Seneca Rocks, West Virginia, you know what it's like. That's this part of a mountain range, but it's these really big rock formations that at the top, it's like a knife edge almost. It's really, really narrow, and I'll put pictures at the end of the podcast so you can see. But anyway, we got up early on Sunday and we went down. We went on one of his motorcycles, so it was a bike ride, which was also nice because he took me through all these really windy back roads of West Virginia, which was really kind of fun. I don't get motion sickness, so it was lots of fun. I guess if you did get motion sickness, it might not be as much fun. It was very, very cold on the way down. We were both focused on the fact that it was supposed to be 70 degrees on Sunday. So I dressed appropriately, I thought, for being on the back of a bike in the colder hours, but I had not anticipated quite how cold I was going to be. I couldn't feel some toes by the time we got there. But I definitely warmed up quickly because once we got there, the 150 miles down, it's about 900,000 feet up. Once from the bottom of the formation to the top. It's 1,000 feet, really fast rise. And there's a path cut in that's a lot of switchbacks to get up to the top. And then there's an observation platform that you can look out. That's not all the way up at the top, but it's close to the top. And then there's a big sign that says, "Stop, don't go any further. Your life is at risk. You will fall and die, and we're not responsible. Don't go any further." And so we looked at the sign and we're like, yeah, okay. And we kept going, just like pretty much everybody else that went up there. There was a lot of people up there that day. It was a beautiful day. So I got to climb around on rocks. And if you know me, you know how much I love climbing on rocks. I love it. So I got some really cool pictures up at the very, very top of these rock formations. It was just beautiful. The view was gorgeous. It was a little hazy that day, so it wasn't a super clear view, but it was still really pretty. Fun way. And the fact that it's like mid-December and we're able to do this outdoorsy stuff, crazy. So anyway, then we came down. Coming down is always much easier than going up that kind of a hike. And then we rode back, 150 miles, took a totally different route with other really windy roads. Some of them were dirt roads that time, so that was interesting. But it was a really fun day. It was just, it's something you don't typically get to do here in Western Pennsylvania, or West Virginia, I guess, in December, because the weather does not usually cooperate. But it was a fun day. I enjoyed it. So anyway, that was my weekend, pretty much. That and working. I did work Saturday. Remember, that's what I was doing when I found the alien invader in my body. All right. I do have shop news. I'm going to pause here, though, because there's a shop update on Friday, this coming Friday, the 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I've got a lot of stuff to show you, so I'm going to go gather all of that, and then I will be right back. If you're not going to stick around for that, then I will say goodbye to you now, and I will say Merry Christmas. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a nice one, because I will not be podcasting again until after Christmas. Otherwise, just hang on, and I'll be back. Okay, hi, I'm back. Time for the shop news section of the show. First of all, there will be an update this coming Friday on December 18th, and that will be at 7 p.m. Eastern. And it's going to be a fairly sizable update. I didn't think it was, and then I realized what all I have, and it is. It's going to be a fairly sizable update. So let's get started here. First of all, with regard to self-striping sock yarn, there will be a good bunch. I will have 7 Deadly Sins, There will be 2 skeins on Bedazzled, and there will be 3 skeins on Bounce, which I don't have to show you because it's being reskeined now, but that will be in the shop, so you can watch for those. I have some Winter's Wizards, both on Bounce and on Bedazzled, so 2 of each of those. I have the Colors of Happiness, 2 skeins of that on Bounce. I will have Nyan Cat sets. There will be 3 Nyan Cat sets up for grabs. This is the main Nyan Cat colorway, and then it will be paired with a half skein of navy blue on Bedazzled. So Nyan Cat is on Bedazzled. I don't have the half skein ready. They're not split yet, so but that's what comes with. So it comes with the full skein of Nyan Cat self-striping, which is an 8-stripe colorway, and then something sticking on it. And then it'll have the half skein of the navy blue with it. So there'll be 3 of those sets. Then I have a couple of sort of one-of-a-kindy things. Oh, the other things that I will have that are not reskeined yet, there will be 2 skeins of the Elves Who Were in the Eggnog on Bedazzled. That's probably the last time I'm going to do that this year. I may do Winter's Wizards a time or 2 more just because it's not specifically a Christmas colorway, but the Elves Who Were in the Eggnog is a Christmas colorway, so I won't be doing that again after this update. I have this was originally an inversible, half of an inversible skein, but it ended up, the purple sort of had red flecks in it. So I have 2 skeins like this. It's mostly silver gray, a wide stripe of silver gray, and then a narrow stripe of purple, grape juice purple. I'm going to put these 2 in the shop just as one-of-a-kinds. They'll be discounted because of the red flecking, but it'd still make, cool socks or something. So there'll be 2 of those. And then I have 4 skeins of the Blown Glass colorway, which was the Minis of the Month colorway from November. The dye did not play nicely in these 4 skeins, and so I remember correctly, because I've had this done for a while, the gold section, there were some places in the gold section where a significant amount of blue kind of fraternized where it should not have. So there's nothing wrong with this yarn other than the fact that in the gold sections there's probably going to be, it's either in the gold or the pink. Now I don't remember. At any rate, there's some discoloration in one of these striping segments that should not be there. So these are going to be discounted as well. But again, if you don't mind a little bit of oddity in your striping yarn, it'll still make perfectly nice socks or whatever you want to make with it. I think that's all the regular self-striping sock. I do have some color block sock sets for you this week, though. I will have 2 of the color block sock sets on Winter's Wizards. Now, in case you haven't watched the podcast since I've been doing these, because I don't do them very often because they're a lot of work, basically what you're getting is you're getting a full skein of yarn. It's equivalent to a full skein of yarn, but they're coming in 2 half skeins that were dyed together. So in color block segments. So for instance, these are 7 color segments here. You know what? I can take this out and show you better. Okay, so there's 7 color segments, and in the Winter's Wizards one, I've got this bright purple both on the outside and on the inside. So that's the electric purple, and then it goes outward into this red, and then into this blue, and then into this orangey yellow kind of, then the fuchsia, and then this bright lime green, and then back to the purple. So both of the balls that are in there, they're half skeins, but they're already balled up for you, just so you can see the pretty gradient, color block gradient effect. They will basically knit gradient socks for you that will be matchy-matchy. So again, there will be 2 of the Winter's Wizards color block sock sets. There will be 2 Colors of Happiness. Wow, these little ones are really hard to wind sometimes. That side looks a little bit neater, but they're center pull balls, so they'll be fine. 2 in the abalone colorway, which I have not done this one in a while. Let me show you this one close up. I really like this colorway. It's got a repeating color of peacock blue, plum, and sort of a medium-y taupey brown. So it's a light version of it, blue, plum, brown. Then in the middle there's a green stripe, and then there's a darker version of the blue, plum, and brown in abalone. So there'll be 2 of those sets. And then lastly, I did 7 Deadly Sins sets. Now, the problem is 7 Deadly Sins is actually an 8-stripe colorway because you've got that little black stripe that divides up all of the other colors. So there's black in there. I do my color block sock sets in 7 segments, okay? So I needed to get that 8th segment in there. So for these, you're going to get the colors, the 7 Deadly Sin colors in each of the half skeins, but you're also going to get a half skein of black that you can use for heels and toes, cuffs, heels, and toes, whatever you want to do. But you still will have all 8 colors, but you'll be getting the black separately to do with whatever you would like. I think this set has a lot of potential to do some really cool things. Personally, I could see scarves. I could see really neat socks. I don't know. I just think the options are sort of endless. Mitts, really long gauntlet mitts. So I hope somebody will like these and have fun with them. These will obviously cost a little bit more because you're getting an extra half skein of yarn in them, but I don't know. I think they'll be a lot of fun. So there will be 2 of those, the 7 Deadly Sins color block sock sets. Okay, what else? I have to look at my list because there's a lot here. Oh, I've got a couple of minis left over from past minis of the months. There's 2 of the pop art sets, 1 of the blown glass sets from last month. So I'm going to put those up in the shop up for grabs. I'm also... Speaking of 7 Deadly Sins, I decided it would be really, really fun to do mini sets in the 7 Deadly Sins colorways. So that's what we've got here. There will be 8 100-gram skeins in these sets. So 1 for each color plus 1 of the black. And again, the potential for this is 800 yards. You could really do something awesome with this. I love the idea of having each of these colors individually to, work out for a color, like a color work shawl or some color work in a sweater. I just think there is so much you could do with this. I think this would be so much fun if you put them together and did like the Color Tracks hat from Melissa. There's just so many options of what you could do with these. So these are going to be sets. There'll be 4 of them, 4 7 Deadly Sins mini skein sets. Now, obviously, these look a little bit different than how I usually do my minis. Usually, minis are wound into these short, stubby little skeins. Since there's 8 of these, I did them long. So they look bigger, but it's still that same yardage. It's 100 yards per skein. And I will have these each labeled with which sin they represent, so you'll know. And these are all on bounce. So anyway, I just think this will be really fun. I hope some of you can think of some fun things to do with these. So anyway, there'll be those. And then I'm going to be putting together, I haven't done this in a while, but it's time because my minis are overflowing. I'm going to put together some mini skein grab bags. These are leftovers from when I do, from when I do minis of the month. There's always leftovers at the end of dividing up a skein that are not quite full enough to be a full mini skein. Because those minis of the month skeins are actually 20 grams, so they're about 80 yards. They're smaller than my regular minis. But these are all just slightly less than that. So I'm going to group these together in grab bags. I'm not sure how it'll work out because I've got several different months worth of, you can see, several different months worth of mini skeins in here. And there's some semi-solids and there's some self-striping. I'm going to do them by weight. So each mini skein is not going to be guaranteed to have the exact same yardage, but the total weight of the grab bag will be at least a certain weight, which will guarantee you at least a certain number of yards. And I'll make sure that I put in the listing that there's at least a certain amount of yards in each skein. I just need to weigh it and figure it out. So I know that seems ambiguous, but it's really not. In my brain, I have it all worked out. So hopefully the listing will be pretty clear. But you can look for those too. All right, let's see. What else? I have some other gradients. I dyed up some Mega gradients, my bulky base yarn. If you remember last year, I made a couple of these. These are just a cowl that I basically borrowed the vanilla bean sock pattern recipe, and I used it with my Mega gradients and made these cool cowls. This is not a pattern that I have written up anywhere because it's really not unique. Like I said, I'm just sort of borrowing another pattern. But if you look on my project page, I'm not sure if it was for this one or the first one I did. I think I have like the stitch counts and everything written out and what you do. So if you want to know how I did it, you could do it. But I used my Mega gradients. So I dyed up some of those. This one was done out of the Deep Waters colorway. So I do have some of those. There will be 2 Deep Waters Mega gradients. And then I have 2 that I did in Sassy Pants, which you can see the yellow in there. So 2 Sassy Pants. I did 2 in a variation on my Baubles colorway. So it's actually mirrored. So it starts with this earthy red, comes out to the green, comes out to the gold, back to the green, back to the red. So that's that one. And then lastly, I did some deep blue ice. Now, the only thing with the deep blue ice is somehow, while these were still, you know, in their segmented things before I reskeined them, part of the skeins got apparently in touch with something that had some red residue on it. So there's some, not spotting, not like flecking, but there's some red, pale red on certain aspects of these blue gradients. So these are going to be discounted, and I'll make a note of that. But again, this one works that same way. You've got this gray, the silver gray, out to a bluish gray, then out to the light blue, and then out to the bluish gray again, and then out to the gray. So that's those. But wait, there's more. I also dyed up a whole bunch of semi-solids on Mega, just because, you know, if you're doing some last minute knitting, or if you just want some really quick projects like hats or mittens or something, bulky weight yarn is totally the way to go. This one is bright green. I have, I think, oh my gosh, maybe six more colors. It's still drying. That's why I don't have it to show you. But I've got a couple skeins of each of those colors. So those are going to go up in the shop as well. Lastly, this is also related to one of my patterns. Oh, not lastly, I will have more color tracks kits. Those went really well in my last update. So I'm so glad you guys liked those. I will have more of the magenta and lime color combination. I will have more of the cherry, the hot cherry and cold steel combination. I'm also going to have the turquoise blue and undyed combination that is actually pictured in the pattern that Melissa did. And then I'm also going to have a soft black and undyed combination. So you'll have 4 more options for that for color tracks. Okay, now lastly, this is another one of my patterns, and this is another cowl. It's the Rambler cowl. The color tracks is not my pattern. I was referring to this other cowl that I just showed you. Color tracks, that is Melissa. But Rambler is one of my patterns that I published earlier this year. Because it uses just a single skein of worsted weight, it's not something I ever really did a kit with, because it's just a single skein of yarn. But I really thought it might be kind of fun to do sort of a kit with this, and let me explain. You know, I did this out of my Cozy base, which is a worsted weight base. The color that I knit it out of is not a semi-solid. It is a variegated that well, not really a variegated, it's a tonal that I custom dyed for myself. I did not write the recipe down for this because I'm a bad dyer sometimes, so I have not been able to recreate this exact color, but I really, really liked how this pattern worked up on this pretty tonal looking yarn, and I thought it would really benefit from having the depth that a tonal or a variegated, mildly variegated yarn could offer it. So that's what I did. I dyed up 5 different colors that I think this would work really, really good with. This is the one that I did trying to get close to my cow. It's not an exact match. The darker green is still a little lighter than what's in my green, so I'm gonna have to try it again sometime. But this is a dark green and a silver green variegated, well, tonal. It's more of a tonal because they're both greens. The colors are off because the lighting is horrible in here, but hopefully you get the picture. So there's that one, and then there is a teal and silver gray version. You can see the gray in there. There is, this is my electric purple and magenta, which they come together really closely when you use them together. So it really does just sort of look like a tonal. It's a very tonal colorway, but it does have both of those colors in it. So you've got a lot of this darker magenta that comes together with that really bright popping purple, that electric purple. And then both of them, you know, whenever they're less dilute or more diluted, end up like a pinkish purple. So there'll be 2 of those. Did I already show you the blue, steel, and aqua? So this is that cold steel colorway and spring water blue. So that makes for a nice tonal blue combination. The pictures in the shop will look way more accurate than what you're seeing right now. And lastly, I did iron oxide red and sunken treasure gold together. These are 2 of my colors. I love putting these colors together. And I think this would look phenomenal in that cowl, just because the depth of the color and then the texture of the pattern, it'll work together so well. So anyway, what I'm going to do with these, they're not going to be in kits per se the way, I'll reach. So this is a flurry kit, right? This is what my flurry kits come like. You get the page that talks about the pattern. There's a pattern code down here that I'm covering up with my hand. And then you get the 2 half skeins of yarn to make the flurry. Since this is only 1 skein, it's not going to be in a bag. It'll be ball banded the way my yarn always is ball banded, but it will have an attached card with it that will give you the coupon code that you can download the Rambler pattern as well and have the yarn for it. So it will be a kit, just not in a baggie. Okay, I think that is everything going into the shop this week. If I happen to think of something else that I didn't show you, you'll see it in the shop. Otherwise, that should be everything. I'm looking at my list and I think I've covered everything. Like I said, it's a pretty sizable update. And again, that will be on Friday, the 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern. The next update after that, which will be the last one of 2015, is going to be on Wednesday, December 30th at 9 a.m. Eastern. That one is probably going to be a fairly small update because I don't think I'm going to get a whole lot done between now and then, just because of the holidays and everything. But I definitely have some things planned, so you know, I will record before that update, obviously, and I can let you know what's going to be there. But if you're looking for a lot of choices, this is probably the biggest update that you're going to see right now until January. Also, speaking of January, the January minis of the month are not, I'm not going to put them up on the 1st just because it's January 1st. People have other things to do on the first day of the year than look for my minis of the month. So I'm going to wait until Monday, January 4th at 9 a.m. to put those up for pre-order. In the meantime, the December minis of the month will ship out no later than the 31st of this month as planned. Oh, I want to remind you again, you have until the end of this month to enter anything that you've knit with Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn or spun with Fiber Nymph Dye Works fiber into the fourth quarter finished object thread over on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works board to be entered in a drawing for $25 gift certificate to the shop, which I will do that drawing in the first podcast of 2016. So can be waiting for that. And I'll keep doing that. I'll do a first quarter thread for 2016 because that tends to be something that everybody likes to do. There's a lot of entries in that every time. So we'll just keep doing that. I've got some other things coming up for next year that I can't wait to tell you about. I'm just not ready to tell you right now. Hopefully by the next podcast, I can at least tell you about one of the things because I'm the only person that has to be okay with it. But I've got some collaborative efforts coming up that I'm in planning stages with different people. And I can't wait to be able to tell you about those. But those will come in due time. Just, be on the lookout or the listen for those. I'm really looking forward to doing some new stuff in 2016. I've got a lot of ideas and I'm planning my calendar for 2016 accordingly so that I can make those plans a reality. So anyway, that is everything for this week. And I appreciate you sticking around if you've been here through the whole podcast. I just want to wish you a wonderful Christmas season, holiday season, whatever holidays you celebrate. I hope they're wonderful. I hope if you love snow, you get some snow. We're going to have rain and 60-degree temperatures here next Friday, apparently, for Christmas. Not exactly my favorite Christmas kind of weather, but it's what we're getting, so it'll be fine. And again, anytime we're not getting bombarded with snow is okay with me. A little snow, making it a white Christmas instead of a wet Christmas is nice, but it is what it is. So anyway, please have a wonderful holiday season until I talk to you next. And like I said, it'll be after Christmas when I record next. Probably that Sunday, the 27th maybe is what I'm thinking. At the latest, the 28th, but I'm thinking probably that weekend after Christmas. So anyway, have a wonderful holiday season again, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.